This is Jean Watts, and this is Love in 60 Seconds.
We have been married for over 20 years.
And in that time, we have learned a few things that we'd like to share with you.
So if you're single, newlyweds, or seasoned in marriage, we think you will enjoy the upcoming program.
Absolutely. And we want you to like, engage, share, and do all of those wonderful things that we do on Instagram, Facebook, and every other social media outlets. Send us DMs. We want to hear from you.
This is
Love in 60 Seconds.
60 seconds. Love in 60. Love in 60 seconds.
Hey everybody, good evening.
Hello.
How are you? Happy New Year.
Yeah.
We are back with you with Love in 60 Seconds.
Yes.
This is January 31st,
Yes.
going into February. Love Month, our Love Month, coming to celebrate 25 years of marriage.
Yeah.
And we wanted to come back and do some things different. We appreciate you guys patiently waiting for us to return. And new format, we're going to talk about some things, and we're so happy to see you. As always, as we continue to get back and grow our audience, please like and share this with somebody. Those of you that are watching live today on YouTube or Facebook, please engage with us. We'd love to hear from you in the chats. Those of you that watch later, we appreciate you tuning in. And as always, continue to like and share. Hello, Shavella, to the Bibbs family. Hello to the Roboshaws. It's good to see you guys this evening. So we're going to get right in our conversation. We're not going to be long. Our format's going to be a lot quicker, be on for like 15 or 20 minutes.
Yeah.
And we see you guys signing in, and we love all of you guys. Thank you.
Yeah, that's guys.
So tonight we wanted to talk about I got to get it going. We were talking about our Love in 60 Seconds tonight.
Yeah.
What was our title?
The 28-day love challenge. There is a thing going around on Instagram and Facebook, a 28-day love challenge. And some of them are 28-day self-love challenges, but we want to talk about the 28-day love challenge. And we want to just admonish and challenge people to love intentionally in these next 28 days coming up. February is considered, Love Month. It's Black History Month and a lot of different things, but it is Love Month, because people celebrate Valentine's Day. But we want you to be encouraged to live and to love intentionally with this next month.
So, and with love, as you go into this challenge, and basically what we're challenging you is to be intentional, like you said, with your spouse for 28 days, for the whole month of February, making sure that you're doing something each day to show them how much you appreciate them, because love is an action verb. It's a verb, which means it's an action, means that it's something that you should do continually. It's something that you shouldn't just express verbally, but making sure that you're taking intentional action to appreciate your spouse and show them love in a way that they appreciate it and understand it.
Absolutely. In their love language, in the way that they appreciate it, the way that they understand it. For example, this morning we're laying in bed and I told my husband, you need to touch me, rub my back, because that's my secondary love language. It is touch. And a lot of times, because we're in this COVID environment, I don't get opportunity to touch people. Like one of the things that I would do at church, when I go to church, and even when I would meet new clients, like I'm a hugger. Like sometimes I would hug my client. It would be somebody not even, of the same race or anything. I would just hug them because it's physical touch is my thing. I would go through church and I would touch people as I go down the aisle to my seat. Hey, and I'm touching them. So, love people in the way that they feel like they're receiving love. So that's an important thing, to love people in that manner and to love people in that way. So some of the things that we can kind of focus on while we're doing loving intentionally, while we're trying to love on purpose. And it cannot just be your spouse. It can be your children. It can be your parents. It can be your friends. It can be your pastor, your leaders, whoever your spiritual person is in your life. It can be your siblings, but we're challenging everybody to love intentionally. And of course, we're focusing on marriage because that's what we do. So be intentional about loving your spouse. So we want you to, the first thing that we'd like for you to focus on is your attitude. Having a loving attitude and having a, not just a loving attitude, but an attitude of grace.
Yeah, that's good, and that's probably one of the most challenging things to do because it takes almost a self reflection of you as well. And I appreciate all you guys that are sharing and coming back. And I like what you said about if you are married, making sure that you're intentional with your spouse, and then expanding that to those that are in your circle, your family members, your if you have children, making sure that you show them this month how much you love them, but making sure that when you're giving grace to someone is that it's something that really is something that has to be practiced.
It
So
does.
if you don't get it right, or if you fail, or maybe forget 1 or 2 days, we're challenging you this month to make sure that you're intentional about it, and that if you mess up the first day, that you start over and do it again.
Absolutely.
Because what happens if you are able to expound your love for your spouse, love for relationships in your family and your household, is going to strengthen your family, especially in this time of the pandemic, where there's so many things that sometimes are falling apart or struggling. This is like a boost. This is like our pastor talks about first fruits and giving and stuff. Yeah. This is a first fruit for your relationship.
Absolutely. That's that's good. A first fruit, like you can just kind of starting from scratch on your relationship, no matter how far down to the bottom you are. Start over this month and start being intentional about your attitude about your relationship. Because if you have a nasty attitude about your spouse, you have a nasty attitude about your relationship, it's not going to go very far. And it's going to be a lot of contention in your home and a lot of contention in the relationship. But if you have a attitude that you're not going to let nothing get to you, you're not going to let people's shenanigans, because sometimes your spouse can have some shenanigans, that you're not going to let it bring you down. That you're not going to stoop if they're living on a low level. If you're not going to go down there, you're just going to stay up. You're going to stay positive. You're going to stay loving. You're going to stay kind. You're going to stay forgiving. That attitude, it controls your altitude, how high you're going to go in your relationship.
It's a very intentional quote. Your attitude, it shows how high you go, or your attitude will. What did I say?
Control your
altitude. That's altitude, right. One I used to use on the kids all the time.
Yes, you did.
So, and wrapping some things up or going to the next thing, we talked about I can't really see that.
Intimacy.
Intentional intimacy. So intentional intimacy is a little bit more than just what comes to mind as physical or those type of things, sex and that nature. That intimacy especially starts outside of the bedroom, but inside the relationship, meaning that for 28 days intimacy could start with sending a text to your spouse. Telling them how much you love them, how much you appreciate them, putting a note in their clothes or something like that of that nature, or doing something to spark that intimacy.
I remember that you like 10 years ago, you were writing notes and leaving around the house. And like, I just found one of the notes like in my lingerie drawer, like last week. And it was like a 10-year-old note. You put a date on it. It was like 10 years old, which is crazy. So, things like that are important. And for example, like just kind of how you've been doing, we have our anniversary coming up, and I can tell that you have been very intentional about loving me, about the things that you say to me, and just showing love. For me, that makes me feel good. It makes me feel loved. And so if you do the same thing with your spouse, you do the same thing with those that you love, they'll get it. You know what I'm saying? Even if it seems like they're not receiving it, because I know that I've been a little bit crazy, especially planning for our anniversary. And I'm just like, some days like, oh my God, this is so overwhelming. What was I thinking? And I may not seem as receptive, but when it is said, it stops my day, and it just helps me. That intentionality and that just showing me love and just saying it, even though I'm not a words of affirmation person, it really helps me. It blesses me. It blesses my day. So, it will work if you continue to do it. Be intentional about saying, hey, I love you. I appreciate you, what you're doing. Whether it's you're going to work, you're cooking, you whatever, coming home. I appreciate everything that you're doing. I appreciate you going to the gym and trying to keep your sexy on for me. I appreciate you putting on makeup or perfume or cologne or whatever it is. Show appreciation. Be intentional about showing that appreciation. I'm telling you, it's gonna last your whole year.
Yeah. And so, one thing about the love challenge, and one thing that I even like that our bishop says is that anything that you do for, he said 30 days, but repetitively becomes a habit.
Yeah.
So if we're trying to challenge you to get into a habit of loving your spouse,
Yeah.
of loving those that are around you, of loving those in your family, loving those in your circle, building your relationships
Yep.
between father and son, mother and daughter, all those things, husband and wife. So if you can do that to build your relationship and do it consistently and practice it, then you're going to be successful and be able to make a habit of loving your spouse, especially during this time.
And you got to do it even though it's hard.
Mhm.
And you got to do it when it's hard. If you got a kid that's acting like they're on a ziggity boom, okay, you got to be intentional about showing that kid love. You got to be intentional about showing them grace, because God shows us grace. And, you're not perfect. I'm not perfect. So we can't expect them to be perfect. But we can show them grace and love and tell them that they're worthy of grace. They're worthy of grace. Grace is not something that you can earn. It's given freely. It's
That's
a
right.
gift.
Right.
And so they have the gift of your grace, and your spouse has the gift of your grace.
Mhm.
If they make mistakes, or if they've been acting like a clown for the past 2 years since we went into the pandemic, they've been acting like a bum. Give them grace and show them love and be intentional.
Yeah.
Spirituality. That is something that you also should be intentional about showing within this 28 days of love. That is a fruit of the Spirit.
Mhm.
Love, joy, peace. It's a fruit of the Spirit. Show the fruit of the Spirit. Show that bear fruit by being intentional in spirituality. Be intentional about praying for your spouse. I say this
Mhm.
all the time. Do not complain about what your spouse is doing if you're not praying for your spouse.
Mhm.
Do not complain. You don't get to complain if you don't pray. If you're not
That's
praying
good.
for them, don't say nothing.
That's
Because
good.
you're not even praying for your spouse.
That's
So
good.
if you're not praying for your spouse, who's praying for your spouse? Because you're supposed to be the covering. And I say this particularly to women. You're supposed to be the covering. You're supposed to be the one that's making sure that your husband, your spouse, is following after God's heart. One thing that I'd say all the time, I pray Psalms 112 over my husband. Has he been an amazing husband? Yes. But did I pray for him to be an amazing husband? Absolutely. That's how he is. That's how he got to be an amazing husband, because I prayed for him to be an amazing husband. There's been times, especially earlier on, where we were learning how to be married, and every day wasn't amazing. Every day wasn't spectacular. There's been some ebbs into the flow, but praying Psalms 112 over my husband has helped those hard times, helped us get through those hard times. That's spirituality.
Right. And then for men, you really should think about how can you love, or it would be easier to love if you have a relationship with the person that created love, which is God. So as the priest of your home, you should be having a spirituality and a relationship with Christ, seeking him first. And then doing that, God will show you how to love. I mean, there's so many things in a relationship with Christ that if you just seek him first, and ask him to show you how to be a better husband, how to be more intimate, how to be more romantic, how to do a lot of things. The Holy Spirit will show you those things. And it's also intentional, because when you get in God's presence and you're able to love, then you are able to expound that love to your household. Absolutely. And to your family. So, we are challenging you guys this week to start for the month of February, the 28-day love challenge. We think that you will be definitely blessed.
Yeah.
And then it will help your relationship, and it will help your marriages. We appreciate you guys, as we go and we're celebrating 25 years of marriage. And I have to say, it seems like it was just yesterday. And I definitely have the best wife in the whole wide world, who I love and adore. But my saying and what I believe is that I know that how God loves me because of the gift that he gave me as my wife, giving my wife to me as a gift. And I think that if you guys can go through this challenge and make sure that you're intentional with your spouse, hopefully and prayerfully you will feel the same way about your spouse.
Yeah, absolutely. The next thing that we want you to kind of focus on is less baggage. And less baggage, basically just, baggage makes you sluggish. Baggage makes you not move forward, not progressive. Just lay the baggage down. The Bible even says, lay down the weight and the sin that doth so easily beset you. Lay aside every weight and the sin that does so easily beset you. So whatever the weight is, thank you, little Sean. Happy pre-anniversary. Thank you. But again, if you're laying aside the weight, and a lot of times, one of the big weights is unforgiveness. That's a big weight. It is a big weight. And if you oftentimes, I told one person we were counseling, and I told one individual, and I said, hey, if you do not look at your spouse in pity, then you're not really looking at them, with the eyes of grace because God looks on, he pities us. He shows us grace in such a way, when he forgives us, like, oh my gosh, I could let the enemy just destroy this person, but I can't do it. Could let the enemy destroy my spouse because he's out here acting a fool, or she's out here acting a fool and not doing what she's supposed to do and has this kind of attitude. But I can't let the enemy do that. I'm going to pray. I'm going to love on them, and I'm going to do it until God turns it around. I'm going to be faithful in it. It's a hard thing, but you got to lay that baggage aside. You got to lay that unforgiveness aside. You got to lay that hurt aside, the disappointment aside. And you have got to, rise to the person that you are in the spirit. Rise to the person that you are spiritually. It is not easy. I'm not saying it. Oh, you're just gonna do it and it's gonna be okay. Whew, it's not easy. It is hard, but it is possible because you can do all things through Christ that strengthens you. You can do everything, and that includes be gracious and forgiving and kind and loving and intentional about that forgiveness and love.
Well, we appreciate you guys, tuning in and helping us and getting us back. We're trying to do a quicker format this evening and for as we come back. And thank you for all of you that have been tagging people and sharing as we coming back and coming back into Love in 60 Seconds. Continue to follow us here on Facebook and on Instagram and all the places at Wattsup Video and Wattsup Entertainment. And, did I cut you off? Did you have one more thing?
The last one.
Right.
That was the last one. Yeah.
Okay,
And then
so,
we're gonna and we're finishing. This is our last point of our intentionality this month with this 28-day love challenge. Of course, between married couples, you want to be intentional about your physical intimacy, your physical intimacy. It will be better if you are intentional about it. If you, there's nothing wrong with making a date to be intimate. There's nothing wrong with making a time that you're going to come together and we're going to do all this stuff. You know what I'm saying? We're going to do the thing, but we're going to do all this stuff before we do the thing.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Because sometimes at certain times in people's lives, that physical compatibility is not on the same page. So you got to work to put it on the same page. And sometimes you got to take some mental time to think about what it is you want to see happen in that time, in that moment. And so if you do that, it'll be rewarding, because if you figure out, okay, I want to see this happen during that time, or I want to experience this, or I want to facilitate this during this time, or you ask, what do you want to happen when we come together? The anticipation of what's getting ready to happen on Thursday at 8:30 p.m. You know what I'm saying? That's not a bad thing. You got a date it's going down. You know what I'm saying? You can, on Tuesday, you be like, you know what? You can send a text, baby, on Thursday, it's about to be on the poppet. Okay. You know what I'm saying? And on Wednesday, you be like, I'm drinking coffee. I'm drinking some coffee and I'm doing push-ups or whatever you do. You know what I'm saying? Or I went and bought something special. Be intentional about that physical intimacy. because it is important. It is a small part of marriage, but it's an extremely important part of marriage, your physical intimacy. And God desires for you to have fulfillment in that area. And if you're, sometimes women go through things where it's just not, because maybe men are just like, hey, at the drop of the hat, they're ready to go. You know what I'm saying? Women are not always like that. So if you have to be intentional about getting on the same page, do that this month.
That's good. So we hope that you've enjoyed this evening. And like you said, we're trying to be on quick and get it to you in a hurry and be off so you can enjoy your evening. But once again, always be intentional this month.
Yeah.
We challenge you to do 28 days of love. Make
Yeah.
sure that you sow into your spouse for 28 days and making sure that you're doing something. So we appreciate you. Thank you, each and every one that we saw in the comments, for liking and sharing and doing all that. And we're consistently coming back, and pray for us as we pray for you.
Yeah.
And we'll see you next Monday at 9:00. This has been Frederick and Jean Watts, and this is Love in 60 Seconds.
Bye.
Well, guys, we have to wrap it up this evening. We really hope that you've enjoyed our conversation.
Yes, this conversation has been amazing, and we want you to tune in again next time so that we can discuss more of these amazing topics and these topics of interest. Then don't forget to DM us, contact us, reach out to us, and we will definitely respond back.
If this has been Love in 60 Seconds, don't forget to follow us on Facebook and Instagram.
All right, good night, everybody.
60